We're going live. Oh,
Okay, perfect.
no one should hire me to do text.
No,
Where's
chatting with people in the audience.
that's what Karen said. She's chatting with people. Thank you for playing along. But this looks so much better than through StreamYard. Sometimes, we're live. Well, the third time
Okay,
the charm, Lindsey. I'm so embarrassed.
No, got it.
Okay. Oh, yay. I see people joining now. This is what it should be like. Hello, hello, hello. Y'all, tech support, not my thing. That was very weird, though. As an aside, I'm using my iPhone to do this, but when I went to reset it up, not through StreamYard, just through Substack directly, by default on my phone, it sets it up to Dana Dubois Writes, my personal Substack. And I wanted it to go to the Daily Whatever Show, but be open to everyone. And the only way to do that is on desktop. And desktop said, do you want to do it through your iPhone camera and audio? And I was like, yeah, perfect. Because if you did it through my MacBook right now, I don't have my webcam up here, it would have been like all my chin because it's down here. And so I set it up and then we joined and I was like, you couldn't see or hear me. Thanks, Substack. I don't know what that was. Anyhow, I feel like, so for all of you here, I set this up through StreamYard, but for paid subscribers only. And it took me about 20 minutes to be like, why is there nobody here? Not nobody, but why is this chat so relatively small? So thank you for your patience. I'm so sorry for all of the technical issues.
Nope.
Lindsey Hall, do you want to reintroduce yourself to the chat? And Karen, if you wouldn't mind resharing the link to Lindsey's amazing viral story that we're here to talk about, that would be fantastic.
Thank you. And thank you again for having me here. It's been so nice talking to you. I feel like the one we just talked about is kind of like a warm up. You know what I mean? Now I feel
oh my God, I'm so embarrassed.
Comfortable in my skin. And I feel like
this.
Ready to talk. Yeah. So my name is Lindsey. I am in my day job. I'm a publicist. I've worked in PR for 15 years, all industries, mostly travel, mostly healthcare. And then in my more private life, I've been a writer, a freelance writer and just a blogger for also about 15 years. I originally started with a blog called I Haven't Shaved in 6 Weeks. Did not know I would have to be saying that one day on national television, which I
love it.
I did over the years. Yes. But it was about eating disorder recovery. I have struggled, and it's mentioned in the essay, so I'm very open about it. But I've struggled off and on with what I call the eating disorder cycle, primarily anorexia, but I've certainly been in the loop, is what I call it, of anorexia, bulimia, binge eating, the whole horrible spectrum. And so, yeah, it's been a kind of, I've written about recovery a lot, about the nuances of recovery, about, and I think at the time my blog did well, so to speak, because there wasn't a lot out there that was kind of talking about the treatment experience itself. And I wrote all these little short essays about life in treatment, the women I got to meet, because it was an all women's facility, because men certainly have eating disorders too, but we just weren't allowed to commingle at the time. And yeah. And so yeah, that's kind of how it picked up. And so really throughout the years, I've certainly had articles that have done well, or, articles that have circulated around or resonated. I have a public Instagram on recovery too. I don't write on it as much anymore. Instagram kind of became a lot and and I don't like reels. So I kind of, once the algorithm changed into video only, I was kind of done with my time on Instagram. But it was a good few years there.
Yeah, I agree. Instagram is exhausting. Trying to get attention over there is like,
oh my God. It was just too much, and it was too much. I like writing. My core is a writer. I want to write. All the video stuff wasn't really for me. So, but yeah, so I've had a lot of articles that I've written about that in particular, and I've never had an article like this that has done what it's done over the last week. So that's definitely interesting and a lot more nuanced, since it involves somebody else and not just me talking about myself.
Well, we're so glad to have you here. And I'm laughing because I'm like, we are having such a great conversation in the paid subscriber one. If I can, I'm going to try to share that recap for everyone. That was completely unintentional on my part. In fact, I'm writing back to our friend Letters from a Feminist, who was on the show last week, where she wrote like, hey, do I need to be a paid subscriber to join? Like, nope, that was a mistake. Please come join it now. So we're talking about your essay. This is an
Yeah.
essay. You had given a short description already, and I'll recap it here. Of you were at your boyfriend's. You'd been together
Mhm.
about 5 months, but things were very intimate. You were spending the night there. You'd met his family, and you were working with a client, writing a client email late at night. And you're like, I just want ChatGPT to check this. I'm tired. Make sure the tone is right. You open ChatGPT, and you see a thread
Yeah.
from your boyfriend who is
Yeah.
sleeping on your shoulder, drooling on
Yeah.
your shoulder. Like the way you described this is so intimate, that says, um,
Yeah.
of course, I've lost this since I did everything, but it was something like, I'm having doubts. Actually, when you first see it, you see the end, and it just says, I think you should consider ending this relationship.
Mhm.
And your heart just
Essentially.
sinks. Can you walk through like the 10 seconds after you read that, the first gut
Yeah.
punch?
Yeah, so, I mean, this is where I could have done a lot of things differently. The whole thing, it's just such an interesting
No,
lesson.
girl, anyone would have read that. Like, don't
Yeah,
take a moment of guilt.
I mean,
Um,
I think I had already sensed my intuition, if you want it, my feminine intuition had already sensed that this person was struggling with maybe whether they wanted to be with me long term, for lots of reasons we've kinda already discussed, but generally speaking, I'm a much more fly by the seat of my pants type of lady. I lived in a van for 4 years, I've jumped countries, I have lived in, like, 10 states, like, I love novelty. Probably, something I'm now settled in Texas, but at least for now. But throughout my life, I have been a very flighty person. I've always kept, I've changed jobs a lot, but I've always, uh, it just took me a long time to figure out what I wanted to do and how I wanted to work for myself. I work for myself now. Like, there's just all these things I wanted to accomplish for myself that took a
yeah,
lot of moving around and finagling to get there. And he's a very opposite person who is very, structured, stayed at the same job for many, 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 many years and just changed jobs for the first time. Like,
right,
and so we just had very alternative lifestyles from one another, but we wanted the same things for our for we both wanted kids, we both want kids. We both
yeah,
had a general sense of the how we wanted a marriage to look and how the roles, how we wanted our roles to be within a marriage equal.
yeah,
And how we wanted to raise a family and that kind of thing. So I think we were both trying to overlook these very pretty stark differences in our
right.
worlds. Like, he hated my band. I still have my band. I love it.
Oh my
But
God.
yeah, I love my
I
band.
love the idea of your van. And um, as a fellow chaos agent, I will
Mhm.
say, like, you are not too much.
Thank
And
you.
you have carved out a life that sounds amazing. Everyone in the chat is like, nomad life sounds really cool. Um, and I don't think it's at odds that you wanted to do those things. And now you're like, I would like to have a family. I would
Mhm.
like to feel a bit more stable. Uh, if we're lucky, life is long, and it is
Yeah,
good to have those phases of life. And
I agree.
um, here's a this is not in my list of questions I was going to ask, but it's coming up spontaneously. Of like, as the woman who is a lot,
Mhm.
when you date men who are more reserved and
Mhm.
have kind of smaller life footprints, let's just say, do you feel like you tend to expand them, or do you feel like they tend to contract you?
It depends,
Yeah,
if they're open. This one, I would say, and it's not no fault to him, it's just he was pretty rigid in his thinking, so,
yeah,
mostly, if I have dated people that are more opposite to me, otherwise we would be chaos agents together, and it would be we would, you know what I mean? It would be a lot, but I've mostly dated men that tend to fall on the more pragmatic, logical, structured side, and it
yeah,
just kinda depends. I've had men that really, like my past, like, they're like, admire me for my past, or, like,
yeah.
they're like, "You're so independent," or, like, they see me the way that I want them to see me in a sense, like, right, the good parts of me that
Yes,
I like, they like. Now this relationship, unfortunately, the parts of me I like, I don't think he did like. So there was this kinda odds there was this pull, push going
right.
against one another. Like, I love animals and I have a huge heart, and I rescued these 2 cats, 2 more that's why I have 3 now. But I've
Yes.
rescued 2 cats in Montenegro and brought them back to the US, and, like, it's crazy, I know, but, like, I loved them. I
No,
I just did it.
I
And for someone like him, he was, like, impulsive, like, like, that's how he looked at it, was impulsive, emotion-ridden, like, etcetera, and so we were at there was a lot of things that I like that about myself. I like that I'll help a mouse. If I see a mouse, I'm going to never hurt it. I'm going to, like, pick it up and put it back out. Like, I don't kill spiders. Like, I just
Same.
don't
Oh
yeah, I
god, we
just
live in spider land out here. We do put the spiders outside. Um, yeah, because 'cause they're helpful. You gotta
yeah.
keep the spiders and the bumblebees we save
Yeah,
when they get
except for the
stuck,
bees, especially the bees.
especially the bees. But you're making a really good distinction here, and you make it in your essay, so it's really interesting to hear that you're saying it out loud now of, it's not that you want people the man you're dating to think you're perfect.
Right.
It's that you want him both to like these idiosyncratic behaviors of yours, and you also want them to love you in spite of your
Mhm,
shortcomings. We all have flaws.
mhm.
Um, but the really impactful line that you say, hang on, I want to find it here. And it's the one Frederick Pogue jumped on, where he was like, I wasn't with you until it said,
Yeah.
I'm just not proud of her. And he repeats it with ellipticals, dot, dot, dot. I'm just not proud of her. I want to dive into that line. What do you
Mhm.
think?
Ugh,
Um,
gut it's still like a
it
gut punch
still
the
hits
way
you, right? It
yeah,
hit
it
me.
does.
I can't, I can't like, don't like the way I look. Okay. Don't like that I have cats. Fine. We can agree to disagree, but you're not proud of me.
Yeah, that was hard. I've never
What, yeah. What did that feel?
it's so interesting talking about this out loud finally.
Yeah.
Of all the attraction thing was don't I'm vain. Like, the attraction thing hurt.
Yeah.
When that was the first thing well, no, the first thing was that he started the conversation with, "Should I be in love after 3.5 months?" It was
Yes.
jarring. It didn't hurt me, but it was jarring to see that because I was like, "What do you mean he" like, in my mind, I was like, "He has to go to, like, the robot to ask this?" Like, to me, that read as, like, that's not going to be favorable for our relationship if he is
Right.
so conflicted that, like, he's asking an LLM whether or not he should be. So that was kind of the first jarring
Yes.
part of that conversation that I mentioned, but I
Yes.
would that wouldn't have been a a killer for me. That was I just found that, like,
Yeah.
interesting. I was like, "Hmm."
I think
And
when you're
then
in your, once you're of a certain age and have had a certain amount of experience,
exactly.
it's pretty normal to be like, oh, I don't know if I'm having these giddy feelings. Do I need to feel
Yeah,
that yet? And my advice for him, if he'd asked a friend instead of a bot, might have been like,
yeah,
well, what does she bring to the table? How does it elevate you or
yeah,
depress you when you're around this person? Like, what do they offer to your life?
yeah,
It's sexual attraction there, blah, blah, blah.
right.
But I don't know if a bot is going to, like, I think it's normal at 3 or so months in to be struggling with that, with the question. I'm with you.
Yeah. So, I would have gotten over that. Like, I
Yes.
think I would have if it had just been that, I would have told him I read it and then, like, "I'm sorry I invaded your privacy." Like, 'cause I knew what I was doing when I did it, and probably there was a
Yes.
part of me that was like, that in my gut knew that there was more severity going on than what I was able to understand, and not that
Mhm.
that makes it okay, but that is generally looking back, I think I was confirming what I kinda already knew, although it was much more severe than what I thought. The whole attraction thing, that blindsided me. I did not know that he felt that way, so that part was the first hard part, was that I had
Right.
no idea that he felt, um really, and it was hurtful because of the eating disorder part too. I don't think he ever would have said that to me in real life. He never would have wanted to hurt me that way. He was, again, like a lot of people have talked about in the comments, he was just using it as an outlet to speculate, like, if I went back to anorexia and was really deep in the cycle, what would that do to his attraction, making it kind of about him.
Making
And
making it about his dick. I mean, it was
yeah,
like
literally.
oh my god, not like what would it do to our relationship? How would it destabilize our lives?
No, it was
Destabilize our
like
lives? But
it's like,
what I
would I be attracted to her? Would I wanna have sex with her? And so
uh,
it was just like, I was horrified, again, why probably no one should ever see the inner thoughts of people, but I was
yes,
horrified to see that perspective because I had never even considered that a person I was dating would have that I don't know, would think about that, but
right. I wanna talk about the line too that he called you frail.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and I know, like, you are someone who has written out loud for years about your
Uh-huh.
eating disorder, and, I do not if I have disordered eating, it would be in the other direction, um, and no one has ever called me skinny, so I wanna know what is that I don't know how to word this question in a way that doesn't sound rude, but, like, as someone in recovery for
Mhm,
life, for having anorexia, reading that your boyfriend is worried you
mhm,
are too frail,
yeah.
like, how did walk through what that felt like in the moment?
As somebody who, like, struggles to see themselves, I do accept that there's something in my like, I do not see myself the way maybe other people do, and I'm
Yeah,
it's taken me a lot of years to accept that because 'cause I'm like, "No, no one sees me. I'm the only one that sees me naked. I know my flaw," you know what I
mhm,
mean? And I've picked those flaws
yeah,
apart since I was, 14 years old, but, um, I think it was jarring because, 1, I don't know, I guess I lived in I blissful ignorance that
yeah,
men don't scrutinize their partner's bodies as closely as that, so that
yeah,
the fact that it was, like, the way he felt I was frail was one time I was stepping out of the shower, and he
mhm,
was like, "Oh, she looks frail." I was like, "Oh my god." Like, it set off this entire, like, alarm system of, like, "Oh my god, every way I move, he's scrutinizing," you know what I mean? Like, if I
right,
it just felt like such an intimate thing to notice, and so that was,
yeah,
hard, and then secondly, I mean, in some ways since all this happened, and I don't wanna get too far down the rabbit hole, but I am still in touch with a couple of people I dated in the past, we're
mhm,
friends, and I asked them about that, it stayed with me, and I asked them if they struggled with my did they feel I was frail? Is there a reality that I was missing? And so it's been very
yeah,
interesting to get it was very hard for them to open up about it because they were kinda like, "I don't wanna
yeah.
touch your eating disorder with a 10-foot pole." But I was kind of I was curious because I was interested in, like, is this a perspective many of my partners have had? It was just it opened up a can of Pandora's box. It opened up
Yeah,
Pandora's box of thoughts.
yeah, I'm feeling, like, motherly toward you, which is a little weird. I'm not quite old I guess I'm old enough to be your mom in, like, a teenage, like, a after school special teen mom sort of way. I wanna just caution you there. First of all, you're beautiful.
Oh,
Not that
thank
this conversation would be any different if you weren't.
thank you.
But especially in the earlier chat, that I inadvertently set up, people were like, "Oh my god, look at her hair." I'm hair
Oh,
envy, and,
thank
like,
you.
you are lovely, and I'm telling you this on intentionally because I know once you've been through something like this, like, it hurts that part of you.
Yeah.
The more important part, though, I wanna say this to the men in the audience of, like, women grow up from the youngest of ages
Mhm.
with all eyes on our bodies. And this has been a theme in my writing, especially in the last week or two, of like, we get it from society as we come of age, yes, but we get it from our moms and our dads from the time we're old enough to be aware that we're living in a body. We are told if we are, I wrote an essay about this that when I hit puberty and got kind of chubby, my grandfather used to call me and my mother before me Crisco because we were fat in the can. Like, we have no problem commenting on women's and girls' bodies. As I've talked
Yeah.
about this on some of my lives, I've had people admit their mother kept a weight chart and made them weigh in every day on the fridge
Ugh.
for anyone in the
Ugh.
family to see, right? Doesn't that make you want to die?
Oh
Of
my
like,
gosh.
it comes to us from the earliest of ages.
Mhm.
We internalize this. Be very careful when you are criticizing our bodies. And I know that your ex did not do this to you in any way you were supposed
Yeah.
to see, but I
Right.
want to put it out there as a cautionary tale of um, like if you see something that you think is a flaw in our bodies, like trust me, we see it 10 times harder.
Mhm. Oh, yeah,
And
and then we'll see it 10 times harder after that too.
right. So I,
Now,
I want to just come at you like this and say,
thank you.
if you are eating and taking care of your body, and your health, like, you look great. I have a very underweight child who doesn't eat well, and my family has tried to harsh on me about it. and come at her a little bit of like, you're not eating enough and you're too skinny. And I'm like, I nipped it in the bud when she was like 6, that I'm like, someone lives at the bottom of the weight spectrum, someone lives at the top. I happen to have this very skinny kid. Do not come at her about what she's eating,
Yeah.
because I don't want her growing up like this.
Well, 'cause
Um,
we'll make it's like, for me, anorexia started really because I was a really petite, tiny kid, and that was my
yeah,
I was the tiniest kid in my class, and so that was just my
yes.
thing. That was, like, my thing. Everyone was like, "She's
Mm,
the tiny one," and so when I hit puberty, it was like, I wasn't, the most athletic, the smartest, the prettiest, whatever, but I was the tiniest, and I think, unfortunately,
ah,
that just kind of stuck with me at 14, just a kid, and it, like, stuck with me as, like, no, that's my thing. If I don't have that, then I don't have a thing.
that
And
breaks my heart.
and so it just kinda started what has been a long 20-year cycle of being in recovery for years and then struggling and then being in recovery. Because I don't say that you're ever, like, cured from it. I think when you have
Right,
a mental disease that you have to maintain it, you have to, like, work on it, and I'm very open about that. It's not and I do have
right.
periods where I do need some help and extra help, and I think maybe I was going through a little bit of a period when we met where
Mhm.
I had lost a little bit of weight, so I think that was where a lot of that came from, and I don't blame him for being concerned, but the way I read the concern was obviously not in a very
Mm-mm.
sweet way. It was in a very just like, "I'm not attracted," to
Ah,
her way, whereas I don't think he would have said that to my face,
right. No,
but
no, I
yeah.
feel certain in reading this essay, at least from what I know of the
Yeah,
story, from your telling it to me,
yeah.
that he never would have intended
No.
that. I do have a quick question because we're at the top of the hour. I can stay longer, especially since we started so late.
Yeah,
Are
yeah,
you
yeah, I
able
can
to
too.
stay for another 20, 30 minutes so we can
Yep,
get into all of this?
yep.
Someone named Lindsay just said Lindsay Hall is the most beautiful girl.
Oh,
So
thank
I
you.
don't know if you can see the comments coming by, but you are getting
No, I
lots
can't
of
I could on the
affirmation.
last one, but I can't on this one, so I can't see anything, sorry, guys.
Oh, really? That's so
I
sad.
know, yeah, but I could on the last one. I don't know. Interesting.
Weird. Well, if you all have any questions for Lindsay or for me, please chime in. And Karen will text them to me if I miss them going by in the chat. Trying to keep track of the chat, but it is tough when also leading the conversation. Um, the really interesting thing about this to me is when I first started reading this essay, I read it as like, oh, she just read his diary.
Mhm,
Like at first, when I first
mhm,
opened it, and I was like, people have a right to privacy. I'm sure you got a lot of comments about this. I'm not sure
oh,
I'm
yeah,
with it. But in the retelling of it, what became really fascinating to me was there were so many elements that became fascinating to me about ChatGPT. And a diary is inert. It is simply where you put things out there, right? You
mhm,
write down your bones. ChatGPT is an active participant.
mhm,
And we all know all of these AI agents come with a bias to agree with you
mhm.
unless you challenge them otherwise. So is is ChatGPT culpable here in any way?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I'll never know how much he took from what ChatGPT was saying back. I can
yeah,
definitely give him benefit of the doubt that in what I read, and I can't remember everything verbatim. It was all such a blur.
yeah,
I found it interesting how many times he had used it. He was relying on it for sure,
yeah.
to discuss every grievance, every anxiety, every, issue
About
that
you
was
or just
oh,
about
yeah,
everything in his life?
about me, not about really anything else, just me.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
yeah, he wasn't actually really even using it for much else, he didn't use it for work or it was really just grievances about me.
Oh, Lindsay, that
Uh,
honestly,
yeah,
that breaks my heart for him.
yeah,
Is he in therapy? You said you
yes.
he is. Okay, good.
Mhm,
You did say in the private chat that I accidentally set up earlier when we started this conversation that you had agreed
yes,
that you would not air your grievances with your friends at the start
yeah,
of this relationship because
yeah,
you wanted to be a bit protective. Um, and so it may have been natural for him because my first thought in reading this was like, dude, don't you have friends? Can't you go
mm,
get a beer and have a conversation with your friends?
yeah,
Um, And do you regret that decision to not air grievances? Or do you think that was still the right call for you? There's no right answer. I'm just curious.
Like, do I regret it, like, that he didn't go to a friend and went to
Yeah.
ChatGPT
Do you
or
think that the outcome
um
might have been different if instead of the modern day friend of having an AI agent to
Right.
be like, help me, therapize
Um,
me?
I it's funny that you asked that. The New York Times reporter that called me, which was so wild,
Oh,
but
it's
the
not
New
even
York
a big deal. Just the New
I
York
know.
Times
It's
reporter.
so crazy, like, I got, like, a LinkedIn message, and I was like, "Oh my god." She saw it on Twitter or something, but she asked me the
Love it.
same question about do I and actually my answer is I would've first of all, I never would have seen it because I had no intention of ever going through his phone and reading his texts. I trusted him
Yeah.
implicitly that, like, he wasn't I knew he wasn't cheating on me or I knew what
Yeah.
type of man he was. He has high integrity, and, so I would never have seen it, right? So if it had been with a friend, I never would have seen this, never would have had to go through this experience, neither would he, but, uh, I think if I had somehow stumbled upon him having this as a text conversation with a friend, it would have been worse. I would have been
Mm.
horrified. I would have
Oh,
been
true.
horrified.
I was
You'd
thinking
have been
more of a
so
like,
embarrassed.
yeah.
Like
I I'm a bit older than you. I'm Gen X, and I have this. What I have observed is back when I was your age, but really when I was in my 20s and 30s and dating, and my friends were dating, we would go out for drinks, and you'd shit talk with, or sometimes
right,
glow
right.
talk the guy you were
Yeah.
dating and how things were going, and there was an awareness and also an accountability among your
Mhm,
friends, right? Where they would be like, "No, Dana, I think you're overreacting here," or "Yeah, no, you're not overreacting. This is bad."
mhm.
And we would have that equilibrium. Then my friends partnered off, we married or partnered off in one way or another. And those conversations all locked down. Like just this last week, one of my very dear friends who's been with her boyfriend for over 2 years was like, "Oh, I think we're breaking up." And I was like, "Wait, what? I thought everything was great. I haven't heard a peep about it." So I only hear about things now. Another friend is getting divorced. She told me
Mhm.
about a month ago. And I think it is to our detriment that there's no release valve. It's sort of
Yeah.
like you go behind and the relationship becomes something you have to protect so hard you don't confide.
Mhm.
And
I
maybe AI is becoming like, I think your story's resonating because I'm guessing a lot of people are using AI in this way.
Yes. Yeah, I definitely think a lot of people are using it. I could see it in the comments.
Yeah.
I had never used it that way. I really didn't even think about using it that way up until that point. I don't know why. I just had never
Yeah.
I have a therapist too, and I have friends that I
Yeah.
that I air some grievances to, but I guess in the context of what he and I had decided to do, which was to try to keep some of our relationship more private, than I had in the past, because I poisoned the well, so to speak, with some of my other you know what I mean? Like, I
Yeah.
would sometimes overshare and then be like, oh, because then their opinion would be like, "Break up
Yeah.
with them." And then it's, like, kinda awkward
Yes.
to walk that back, so it's a fine line, right? But I think what I think what floored me about the ChatGPT wasn't just what he said. I mean, that was painful. The "I'm not proud of her" part was the, nail in the coffin thing. But what I was so what it was what it made me privy to was that I was like, "Oh my god, like, he's so unsure or, like,
Yeah.
anxious or, like, he's so conflicted about me." Like, I knew he had issues with the cats,
Excuse
like,
me.
I knew that bless you. Um, I knew that I knew that was a huge thing, I knew some of these issues. I knew he had a problem with my van loving past, like, I knew that, but the level of intensity to which ChatGPT was maybe feeding it to some degree too,
Yes.
was really jarring to me. There was no one, like, putting up any kinda bumpers, like on a
Right.
bowling aisle. There was no bumpers. It was just him
Right. Just
freaking out and ChatGPT kinda always coming to the same conclusion of like, you should just end it. And maybe it was right. I don't know. I mean, obviously we did end. And
right.
but
God, that's an ironic loop, isn't it?
yeah, yeah, it is.
Yeah, the thing with an AI bot is that you need to tell it how to challenge you.
Yeah, yeah.
And we have a bunch of questions from the chat, but I want to mention this first since it's in the conversation where we are. I recently wrote a story about how I used ChatGPT to help with something similar to what your boyfriend was going through, but different.
Mhm.
I'm going to put it in the chat here.
Loved your
Um,
story. I thought it was
thank,
such a good, like, alternative perspective of how
thank
to use
you.
it. Yeah.
And what I did was when my nervous system gets like when I dating for me is very dysregulating,
Mhm.
and it's because I've had I'm a dot connector. I notice patterns, and especially in very early dating, I was like, I don't know that I'm a reliable informant of my own
Yeah.
experiences because I was having these anxiety spikes of when I was responding. So I was like, at the time I was with ChatGPT, I broke up with ChatGPT for Claude because of their politics. But I'm going to say ChatGPT here. I was like, I need you to be. I don't need you to tell me what to do, but I need you to tell me if the pattern is changing. Um, and it's really reliable for that. It was actually quite good at being like, yes, this is happening. This is what I'm noting. Um, and so part of me had a lot of empathy for
Yep.
your now ex that I was like, oh, he's using this
Totally.
privately to manage his anxiety instead of bringing it to you.
Yeah, which I
Um,
honestly do appreciate. I mean, I could not have handled all of that direct feedback, and maybe that says something about me, but I mean, if
oh, you're
someone
anticipating my question, which is, had he come to you and said some of these concerns, like, Lindsay, I'm worried about how your eating disorder may impact our future if we were to have
Uh-huh.
a future together.
Yeah.
Would you have been able to handle that question?
Well, he did, about the
Okay.
eating disorder, mostly though he framed it rightfully so. I mean, I think he was trying not to be cruel, right? Like,
Yeah.
because I can't help necessarily that I have this disorder,
No.
but I do think he tried to frame it in the most empathetic way that he could, which was more like, "How will this impact our future children? How will you ensure that how do you wanna raise a daughter?" 'Cause he's a liberal man and um he understands that women have a lot of pressure to look ways and we get wrapped, it's just a lot of pressure on everybody, men and women. But, he would ask me those types of pointed questions that were tough, and they would
Okay.
hurt my feelings a little bit. I mean, I'm not, of course, I would be like the inference of them was always that you're unreliable. So how will you make sure you're reliable for our children? Which is but that those I felt like those were fair questions.
Yeah.
They were hard to hear, but I felt they were fair. I did not the attraction thing never came up, and I think rightfully he wasn't. What could I say to that? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, what was I gonna say? Like, "I don't know if you think I'm frail, I'll go lift weights." Like, I don't really know, like,
Frail
I
is
don't really
such a
know.
hard word.
Yeah, it is.
Um,
It
yeah, and
wasn't
at that point, there is
nice.
sort of this like, it's okay if my if my meat sack isn't the meat sack you want to wake up to every morning,
Totally,
then go.
totally,
Then this may not work. Like you can't be like,
totally.
okay, well,
And also,
it's
I mean, I think I added part of that too. I have PCOS, so I have polycystic
uh,
ovarian syndrome. So,
yeah,
in part because I have PCOS, it is why somewhat my hormones are all crazy. So it's kind of,
yeah,
I'm not a curvy person. I don't have a big, like I don't feel. I already struggle myself with feeling sometimes like I have like the kind of feminine body I would like to have, because of
yeah,
like I have a lot. I have 3 times more testosterone than most women do because of this PCOS thing, and so I think
yeah.
it does affect how you develop and stuff, and so, yeah, I've already struggled with that, so I think
Mm,
that was another thing that just, like, is like it was just a
yeah.
gut punch.
Oh my God, that we never want what we have, right? Where I'm like, do you want some
Exactly.
of mine? It's like,
Yeah, it's just
because I'm like, oh,
impo
if I could be leaner, right? Um, yeah, it's you're beautiful. I'm just gonna say that, and there are plenty of men out there who love lean. I mean, you're the beauty norm, right? Clothes probably
Thank you.
look amazing on you. So, I'm gonna ask a couple questions that have come in from the chat. Um, and this first one is tricky, and I'm not sure if you can or want to answer this, but I will ask. Do you know if he is on the spectrum? And I have to admit that went through my head as I was reading it as well, of like the not reading the room.
Oh,
Um,
I do I can't he's never been diagnosed as that, so that's all I'll say. I don't want without I don't wanna speculate on somebody, especially on something
Yeah,
like that, but
yeah.
he's never been diagnosed with that. He was diag I'm trying to think if I feel comfortable say
You don't say anything that'll make you feel
yeah,
uncomfortable.
not on nothing about on the spectrum, but the relationship OCD thing has come up many, many times in my chat in the comments,
Okay,
and that came up between us after this whole thing happened, and I think that there's more something on that than
yeah.
anything else was the which I didn't even know relationship OCD existed.
I didn't know that was
Um,
the thing. That's a
I didn't know that
specific
was a
form of
thing.
OCD?
Very specific form where you ruminate on a relationship and all the ways it could go wrong, and it's just like a constant rumination of
Diagnosing,
yeah.
self-diagnosing.
Yeah, it's just, like, very, like it's like a obsessive stream. We read about I mean, he and I read about it for it was suggested to him by his mental health professional,
Yeah.
and it was very
Wow,
interesting so it's been really interesting to see that come out in the comments. I mean,
super
I don't
interesting.
speculate, I don't know if he did or not, but it's definitely something that came up, and I think that a lot of people don't have a lot of awareness around relationship OC I certainly didn't.
I did not know that was a thing.
Yeah, I didn't
Um, there's a question in the chat too of what's a meat sack? It's your body. I'm just making a joke of like, we all live in meat sacks, right? Like we are spirit and we are heart and brains, but ultimately we all live in our own sack of flesh and bones
yes,
that we have to
that
move
will
through
come
the
and
world.
go.
Yes, sorry, that's I did not make that term up, but I do like that term. Um, and here is another question. Did your now ex-boyfriend apologize? And I feel like that's kind of covered in the essay, but if you could speak to it, in case
Yeah.
anyone in the chat hasn't read it yet.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean oh, yeah. Like,
yeah,
I mean, there's a whole that I did not make up anything about what happened. My response has
yeah.
gotten a lot of flack. I have fight or flight. Everyone has maladaptive coping mechanisms at times. Mine, has always been I I had a really tragic event when I was 18. My best friend died, and pretty
Oh,
much I think yeah, and I love him. I write about him a lot. He was my childhood best friend, and,
oh,
I think that I kind of probably developed some maladaptive coping after that, and I've noticed that anytime I have a situation where I feel threatened, whether it's emotionally, I do have a tendency, I'm open about it with partners, I'm working on it, but I have a tendency I just leave.
yeah,
I don't melt down, I don't throw huge scenes, I don't create huge scenes 'cause I'm Southern and was taught to, stay small and be quiet. But I do leave. If I feel threatened, I leave, and I did handle it
yes.
that way. I did walk out of his house. I did not tell him where I was going. I just felt like the best thing I felt in danger, like all my little danger senses
Oh,
were going off. Not that he would hurt me, of course,
no,
but
but he was
hopefully.
hurting you.
Yeah,
I
exactly,
mean,
and so I handled it, not the best, somewhat impetulant, and I just
no,
left.
I I wanna stop you there and be like, I thought your reaction was, warranted.
Thank you.
Like, to be like, "I need to get out of here and be alone
Yeah.
right now," was,
Yeah.
um,
I didn't wanna
completely
yell at
legitimate.
him, I didn't wanna have the
No,
meltdown, and I was seething with, like, hurt and anger, and I knew that if I woke him up to talk about it, I would not be able to keep my composure, I would not have empathy, I would just be attacking, just
yeah,
solely
no,
attacking.
I mean, how could you not feel every ounce of those of the words that you read in your gut and be like, "I need to get away from this person and be alone."
Yeah.
I did see it to his credit that he woke up and when he couldn't get a hold of you by phone that I love the way you wrote it, like the beams of his headlights coming through your window.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm
That
rest
he
over oh, it's seared into my memory because I went home
Yeah,
and went straight to bed, I was just gonna go to sleep, and
yeah,
Um, he woke up and then he came to mine, which I guess I wasn't too surprised, but I thought he would just end up sleeping on I thought he would come over in the morning. That's kinda what I thought.
yeah.
And, but instead he woke up and yeah, I can see how jarring that was for him. I'm sure he's like, "What the hell?"
Right, he had
Uh,
no idea what had
"The
happened.
hell is going on?"
Um,
So he went to my house and yeah, I mean, I did lose it. I I was not in a frame of mind to be, peaceful about it and all that
no.
everything I wrote's true. But he was apologetic. I mean, immediately. There was no defensiveness, there was
No.
no,
Yeah.
like, "We're in the wrong for reading it in the first place." He was just immediately, like he literally was like, "Oh god. Oh god." And he was like, "Oh, I cannot imagine." He goes, I know, I cannot imagine what you've read," 'cause he couldn't remember everything either, but he was like,
Yeah.
I know it's bad, I know it's bad." Yeah, yeah, and I was
I
like, "It's horrible," and I started, like, repeating the lines back, and he was just, like, sitting there like, "Oh my god." It was dramatic. It was hard. It was not a
feel
good scene.
I will say, like, I felt a lot of warmth for him
Mhm.
in his response to you, and, you tried to continue this relationship,
Yeah.
and I was glad as I was reading it because I was
Mhm.
like, we can all be human, we can all have doubts, you were both culpable at some level. He
Mhm.
wrote it, you read it,
Yep,
and
totally.
I was really glad when you hit that point that you decided to try to work through this, and I wanna, talk about that decision because to me, that's the really interesting part of this essay,
Mhm.
is you tried and you could in spite of the fact that he apologized beautifully, he clearly did not want this to end.
Mhm.
His response to you finding out was everything I think you would want it to be, and yet
Ye
it wasn't enough, right?
ye
And
um,
can you because you can't what
yeah.
Karen said it really well of like you can't put the air back in the balloon. That wasn't quite what it was, but like you can't unlearn what you've learned.
Yeah, there's a line that I put in there that a lot of people have clung on to and
Yeah.
debated, but about the protective blur of intimacy. Now
Protective
do I
blur of intimacy. Yeah.
yeah, that the it kinda it erased that protective blur of that creates and that maintains intimacy is kinda, I think, what I stated exactly, but I
Yeah.
and people have debated whether should there be a protective blur in intimacy or or is that a part of ourselves that's not being, like, totally real with one another, et cetera, and I don't know. I mean, I haven't been married
Yeah.
for 10 years. I've had plenty of people that have commented coming from 35, 20-year marriages saying that protective blur is bullshit and that you should be real about everything and everything should be out there, but
That
I
might be
don't
true,
know.
but I think it's important to note that had only dated this man for 5 months.
Yeah, that's my point
So,
back is that there was still in a very it was still in a very initial period where the protective blur probably still it needed to be there to make the base to begin with.
yeah, you
Um,
you had only you were only really coming out of the
yeah.
initial like,
Yes.
starting to just, like, put weight
Ye
on that relationship, I think, at 5
exactly.
months.
Yes, and I had just met his family the weekend before, so it was
Oh,
just starting to, like, turn that way, which unfortunately for him, and I didn't know this, but unfortunately, that was when he he had decided. He was like, "Yeah, I could love this person. I can accept her for who she is." I think. I mean, that's kinda what he said to me. I'll never know, right? I can't speculate, but that's what
ugh,
we were trying to get past this situation. He was like, "I just hate that you read it because I don't feel that way." And, like, the hump is over. Like, that
oh my
I love
god. Like, I've done the work, and now I wanna go for it.
yeah, and so
Oh,
and I believe him fully, I have no rea he's a very honest person, I have no reason to not, but I just I never felt the same. Like, I could
yeah.
not feel like myself after that. I just could
Ugh,
not. I couldn't, and,
mm,
I mean, that's on me. There's things I need to work on for sure because your partners are gonna
mm,
say things that hurt. They're gonna say
mm,
things that dig, but the "I'm not proud of her" line, I'm just not proud and then repeating it for some reason, and he knows this, so I feel very comfortable saying that I could not accept that. Like, I could not
mhm,
accept because even if
yeah,
I guess I like I said in it, it's like I felt that even if he didn't mean everything, that I just could not get past the sense that
yeah,
he was still convincing himself to wanna be in this relationship, and that there
right,
was just too many differences between us, and that there was a lot of things he would not like about me for the rest of my life, and I could not I
right,
just didn't the things that he didn't like were the things I do like. So I think that was ultimately
yeah,
what was kind of what was just kind of
right.
I just couldn't get past that sense of, like, if he doesn't like me for the things I like me for, that's gonna keep dragging this relationship into the toilet anyway, and I do think ultimately we were just not right for each other, and the
Right.
situation is what highlighted it.
Yeah, for sure. And you two had made a pact not to discuss your relationship outwardly,
Mhm.
um,
Yeah.
at the beginning, and so
Ironic. I
I
know. The
that's where I'm
irony
going
of
with this.
this, yes.
So two-part question is,
Yeah,
after this happened,
yeah.
did you talk about it with your friends?
No.
And then the second half of the question is, you have now talked about it with 12 or 13,000 folks on Substack, and you've
Yeah.
been published in Slate, and is the New York Times article out yet?
No,
But it's
it's
coming.
yeah, well, yeah, I think so, yeah.
So, so the first question is, were you able to talk to your friends or your therapist about this? And how did they take it? And then the other question is, how does it feel to be like, I'm not going to talk about this with
Yeah,
ChatGPT, but I am going to post this
yeah.
online, and then it blows up.
I mean, it's definitely I have a questionable fit. I can't say I'm not gonna sit here. I don't know if I would have written this essay had I known what it would do. I don't know.
Mm.
I can't know what I would do. I do know I did not expect it to do this. And so I am morally conflicted. Yeah, about whether because I did not tell my friends about it. No.
Wow.
Mostly
So they
because
learned about it with this essay.
I think I told them when we broke up. I told them yeah, I told my close girlfriends, right? Like I did share it with them. And they did exactly what close girlfriends are often gonna do. They were like, "Why did you even try after that?" Like, "F him," basically, you know what I mean? And, like,
Yeah.
I knew that they would do that as loving to me as they wanna be, but also, like, I didn't need that energy. I don't
No.
I knew that's what they would do, so I didn't wanna I wanted to work it through for myself. I did tell my mother. She was the
Mm,
only I told my mother, like, when it happened, yeah.
okay.
And
And how did she respond? Sorry,
oh,
I
she
didn't mean to
was
make that face.
no, no, no.
She
No,
must have been heartbroken.
yeah, she is well, she and my dad are very they have a great marriage. I had great examples of parents. I have a
Oh, good.
my brother's been with his partner 11 years. Like, I have a very I am the one I am the one in the family that can't seem to figure out this relationship thing. So, but my parents and my brother do, and so my mom did I think she told my dad, and, you know,
Oh,
they were sympathetic to him. They like him. They think he's a good man overall,
yeah.
sympathetic to the idea that I was never supposed to see that, and sympathetic to the idea that he probably didn't mean it as harshly as it came off. But
Yeah.
obviously, my dad came from a more soft place of being like, "I never felt that way about your mother. I never struggled with
Yes.
those feelings about your mother, not from day 1, not month 3, not month 6, not 20 years, not 35 years, not 40 years." And he was like, "I've been pissed at your mother, but I've never been not proud of her." And he kinda left me with that
Oh,
sentiment, and my brother similarly said the same thing. I think I told him about a month later when
yeah.
I was going through it, and my brother was like, "Dude, that's a killer sentence." Like,
It
he
is
was
a,
like, "I would never say that about my wife."
it,
So
I'm so happy that your family of origin recognized the crux of the problem.
yeah, yeah, they did.
And
They could see his side. They were balanced. They were
yeah.
not just, guns blazing trying to about him because they like him. They thought he was a good man, and he is.
Yeah.
But they were, of course, my family, so they were like, "That is brutal." Like, it's
It is
brutal. It was brutal.
it is brutal, and you did
Yeah.
not deserve that. He is entitled to his point of view and
Yeah.
all of the things, his own doubts, but for you to have to read them is like it was brutal.
Mhm.
I know you have talked to your ex about this,
Yeah.
but can you walk the like how did your
Yeah.
ex respond to the essay, and how has he responded to how viral this essay has gone?
I don't know.
Oh my
Um,
gosh, you don't? You haven't talked to him about it?
I've told him that this essay existed, and he said he wasn't going to read it, which I do believe. I do believe he is a man of his word.
Mhm.
I don't think he wants to read it because I think I did let him know. I was like, "There's a lot of commentary. I did not mean for it." I was like, "There's a lot of opinions, a lot favorable towards you." I did tell him that, you know? I was like, "I don't want you to think this is a onslaught, that this is an onslaught of opinions that you're the worst and I'm this sacrificial lamb," whatever.
Right. No,
And
I glanced at the comments and a lot of people were popping off on like, "You shouldn't have read his stuff," but
totally, oh my
I
god, I've been called every name in the book over the last week. I've gotten a death threat, which is wild.
death threat?
Yeah, I was like, "What is even going on? Calm down."
Calm down. This isn't about you,
So
sir.
wild,
This
but
isn't
yes,
Wendy's.
yeah,
Um,
I've gotten a lot of narcissism and this and that, and so I let him know that I was like,
mm,
"It's very mixed. It's not a hit piece, and I want you to know that I would never try to do a hit piece on you ever."
right,
And he didn't answer for a while and then called me. Then he was like, "I'm not thrilled." Like, and he was
right,
like, "I don't." He's not thrilled. He's not thrilled, but I think he knows I'm a writer. He knew who I was, and
right.
I think he was mostly concerned, like, is this gonna dox me? Like, are you going to hurt my career?"
Um,
And
no,
that's a fair question.
right,
And I said, "No, I don't have any there's nothing of us together, no descriptors, nothing of him online, nothing of us together online." We didn't date long enough so to have
right.
a paper trail. So,
Mm.
as long he was like, as long as my name doesn't get doxed on a Reddit thread," like, he was like, "I guess do what you wanna do." You know what I mean? He was
Oh,
like, but yeah, I don't
oh my gosh.
thrilled.
Um, I I think when we started this live, you were just short of 13,000 likes. You've probably exceeded it because it's been growing so quickly. So this story, like, that doesn't come from nowhere. Um, what do you think that women and men are each recognizing in this piece? Like, what have been the dominant
Oof.
responses?
It's been such a fascinating, like, culture study on men
Yes.
versus women right now. Maybe
Yeah.
the manosphere versus women right now.
Oh my
Uh,
god. Tell
it's
us
just been
more.
it's just been interesting because it's like men are so much more black and white in the comments, at least. They're so black and
Okay.
white. So many of the men are like, "You're wrong, you read it, nothing matters past that." And
Oh,
and
that's
that's a take. That's a take. I don't agree with that take,
I don't either.
but that there is that take, right? That, like, you're completely in the wrong. There's a lot of men, which this has been fascinating too, and I
Yes.
would be so curious to talk to a man who said this and have a reasonable conversation where they're not
Yeah.
calling me a narcissist, blah, 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 where they would just have, like, a normal conversation with me, but, like,
Right.
so many men are like, "You don't get it. Men have these doubts. It's normal. If you never should have seen it, he would have worked through it probably, but now you'll never know." And I think my point back or what's been eating at me about that perspective is that exactly what my dad said. My dad was like, "No," because I've read some of these comments, and my brother and my dad and my mom have been following this whole thing, and my
Oh, that's
brother
so
was like,
sweet.
yeah, and my brother was like, "Who are these people that are having these horrible thoughts about their partner so early on?" Like, he was like, "I did not," like, he was like, "Yes, it took my brother a long time to propose to his now wife." And
Yeah.
he was like, "Because I wanted to go through life, we were young, we were very young when we met, like, I wanted to hit milestones with her and make sure that we had the space." But, like, my brother was like, "I never once thought, like, am I proud of my wife?" Like, these kind of things, and so
Right.
I guess that's been an
Mm.
interesting part is, like, do men that's been, predominantly men saying these things is, like,
Right.
these are all normal thoughts that he's having, and I'm like, "Are they?" Like, interesting. Like,
Yeah.
I
And
don't know if I
here's
agree with that, but, I don't know. I'm not a man.
I'm not either, and as you're speaking, I'm wondering, do men or people have fewer doubts if they meet young and partner really young? I'm assuming your parents got together when they were very young
Yeah,
because that's what people did back then, and
yeah,
it sounds like your brother did. Do you think once we have had multiple loves and romantic
yeah.
and sexual
Good question.
experiences, that the doubts are stronger because we are
Yeah,
always there's such a sense of abundance of like, but maybe the next person.
yeah. I've said it's funny you say that. I
Yeah.
have said only recently, 'cause I'm 36. I've said recently, though, that, like, I would not recommend to my children to necessarily wait as long as I have or to have as many varied experiences as I've had because I've had so many relationships at this point, and I do think for me,
Mhm.
now I'm not saying
Yeah.
it for everybody, I think for me it has probably not been the best psychologically thing to have
Yeah.
had so many different types of boyfriends, from this country or that country, this culture or that culture, this background, that
Yeah.
background, and it really starts confusing. I mean, some would argue, and maybe there's truth to it too, there can be truth to everything, right? Like, there's truth that, like, I know now what I cannot live with and what I can because of all these varied
Yes.
experiences, but also I think psychologically it does take a toll. Um, it takes a heart toll.
I am so what I have said that's similar to that, as I'm plus winning you, is I think with most things in life, if you practice them, you get better at them. And when it comes to dating, that's true to a point,
Mhm,
and then it
mhm.
becomes a loss. Like,
Yep.
because I'm 55, so I mean, I was married for a number of years, but I've now been single in various forms. I've had boyfriends, but I haven't been partnered for
Mhm,
14 years.
mhm.
So I've had the like later than in life dating, and um, it is you don't get better at it. At least I don't. For me, it's more traumatic. There's like
Yeah,
I don't think it's heavy-handed to use chronic PTSD about it. That like
yeah.
that's why I enlisted a bot. I enlisted ChatGPT to help me regulate my nervous system because it does become you
Mhm,
become so aware of how things can end and
mhm.
how um, badly
How
men can behave that it's hard to come in with your heart open. And I think that's why I found the male protagonist, your boyfriend in this story, so relatable.
Yeah, I would because he has had his heart stomped on just as much as me. He's older than
Yeah.
me, and he's never been married before, and we both have never been in, like, 10-year relationships, so
Yeah.
between the 2 of us, we're both coming from a
Yeah.
lot of different relationships that didn't work. Maybe not all were dramatic. I'm still on good terms with quite a few of my or at least I wish my exes well for the most part, you know what I
Yes.
mean? Like, I may not talk to them all the time, but I don't have any ill will. But there are, of course, a couple that that I had my trust broken or,
Yeah.
heroin is a huge unfortunate reality in my
Oof.
background of not me, but,
Yeah.
um, of an ex and discovering that they had an opiate addiction. And I do think that fundamentally, it changed me on a psychological level of like, people
Right.
can have entire secret worlds and you don't know about it. I didn't know
Mm.
and I think that trauma, that PTSD, like you said, it does live with you. And it
It
does
does.
ca and you try not to carry it into every relationship that you have next, but of course it compiles, right? And so,
Right.
yeah, so it's like you said, I don't know, it's like I would never recommend to my kids if I'm have fortunate enough to have children one day, like, I would never recommend to my kids to maybe have as many experiences as I had. I don't know if it's been a good thing.
Same. I mean, you cannot unweave the tapestry of who you are, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It makes for great storytelling. But
Yeah, it does,
I
it does make for great storytelling.
on the other hand, I'm very glad I didn't end up marrying the men I haven't married, right? Or like partnered
Same,
with. So it is a hard
same.
balance. Um, so you took the story to Slate. Has the Slate story gone live yet?
Yeah, yeah, it did. Yeah,
That's first of all, congratulations.
thank
That's
you.
amazing. Um, how did the essay change, or did it, when you knew it was going to a far larger audience? And I'm now going to try to find the story while
They
you're answering.
edited they edited, I thought they edited a lot of the nuance out of it, to be quite frank, so I have not chosen to look at any of the comments on, wherever they've published it, like social media. I'm not looking because my guess is I'm probably getting roasted, because I feel like for the sake of how long the piece was, they removed quite a bit of I don't know,
Uh,
the meat of it, in my opinion. You know what I mean? Like, the
yeah,
kind of reflection part, I think, was decreased by a lot, so it kinda just looks more like
yeah.
to me, it kinda reads just like a little bit more drama, like a little bit more salacious than I probably would have preferred, if I'm being really honest,
And that's
but
what they want, right?
of course, I
But
work
they
in the
did
media
keep your
industry.
title.
They
They all
did?
they did was add a period. I stumbled across my boyfriend's ChatGPT. It ended our relationship. It
Yeah.
wasn't cheating or some dramatic betrayal. What I found was worse.
Mhm. They kept
Oh,
all
and
that in. Yeah, they kept all
that's
that in and
pretty similar.
yeah, they kept I mean, most of the essay is pretty much the same. They just basically deleted parts of it that were I think the editor felt like was too long or too repetitive
Right,
or maybe didn't really add anything to the whole kinda twisted drama of the
right.
whole thing.
And I can't see it because I no longer have a paid subscription to Slate, but, um, it's really interesting to me as someone who has pitched publications and been published a few times. They typically want, something new,
Yeah.
but this one did they come to you or did you
Mhm.
pitch them?
No, they came to me. I've never worked with Slate before. I think they happened to see it in Twitter, same way the
Mhm.
New York Times did, Twitter.
Did
Uh,
you share it on Twitter or did other
yeah,
people share it? Oh,
I think Twitter is the
yeah.
hellhole
Oh my
of
gosh.
social media, and I do not get on Twitter. I don't look at
Same.
Twitter. I think it's full of manosphere incels. I
Right.
have very little interest in seeing the
Oh my gosh.
commentary about this on Twitter.
Oh god, I can
But
only imagine. And thank you
yeah,
for dead naming it because I will always call it Twitter as well.
yeah, X, whatever. Yeah,
Yeah,
like
Elon
whatever
Musk
it
can
is.
suck it with X.
Yeah, he literally can yes, he can suck it. But no, I don't get on Twitter, but somehow they saw it through Twitter, so, no, she reached out to me and just asked, like, sometimes we republish stories that are generating their own engagement kinda, and so she was like, "Do you we can pay you X amount if to republish it, but we need to edit it, because it's too long." And I thought about it, and then I said, like, "Okay," because actually I knew it would be behind a paywall, and I was
Yes.
comfortable with the fact that because it's gonna be behind a paywall, not that I mean, not it's not it doesn't have this paywalls limit paywalls limit the amount that the public can absorb, so I felt comfortable with that.
I'm laughing in the chat here 'cause, someone named Anna joined and is saying, "Oh my god, it's you!" with a bunch of exclamation points, and she says, "You did nothing wrong. Oh my god, I'm freaking out." So, your
Oh,
piece and she said, "Your piece is in my head forever."
oh,
It's
thank
such a good
you.
piece.
Thank
So,
you. Thank you. It was a raw piece, but
it
I am proud of that piece as writing, I will say I am proud of what I wrote. I think, Tim Kreider influenced I wanna give a shout out to Tim Kreider if anyone
yeah.
reads him. He's so great. I think I loved his essays. I've loved them for 15 years, and he wrote a story similar about accidentally stumbling across an email that someone said about him, and he wrote a whole essay about it, and that essay's always lived in my head. So when this all happened to me, I remembered the part where he said I think I quote him at the very end about him saying, like,
Yes.
"If you want the mortifying ordeal of being known, or, like, if you want the benefits of
It's true.
intimacy, you have to go through the mortifying ordeal of being known."
Oh my
And
gosh.
I thought that was such a brilliant line that I quoted that towards the end, and kind
Yeah.
of rephrased it how I felt about it, but repurposed it for what I felt applied to my essay, but yeah,
Right.
Tim Kreider, y'all, he's great.
Yeah, I just
But
clicked through and I see it's a link to his book on Amazon.
yeah, it's
I
great.
am not familiar with his writing, but I love that his book is called I Wrote This Book Because I Love You.
Yeah, I love those are the first, like it's a short story it's like a series of short stories, and I've ever since he published that, I mean, it's probably been 15 years, and I still read that every now I still go through and read those essays, I think they're really good. He's just great.
Oh
Super
my god.
wry and smart and great
I
writing.
mean, I love it. And one I think this reason I mean, I think this essay resonated with people for a myriad of reasons which we've jumped into today, but perhaps the ironic one is, your voice is so clear it is quite clear that ChatGPT did not write this essay. This is, like, the most human read essay,
Thank you.
and,
Thank you.
uh, yes, that
Yes,
is clear and it comes through. There's a
thank you.
lot of essays I read where I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah," and I use ChatGPT as an editor, and in reading this, I was like, "Maybe I shouldn't," like, because I do feel like sometimes it rubs the edges off a bit.
Mhm. Oh, I agree. I think ChatGPT because I've run essays through ChatGPT and
Yes.
then not taken any of the feedback because I feel like it, like, dumps it down,
Yeah,
it tries to polish it too much, and that's what irritates me, is how
yes,
much it, like, polishes everything to the point of it
yes.
sounding not messy, kind of, and I've
Yeah,
always written in kind of a stream of consciousness type of way, This one I took a little more time on to really think about the points I wanted to make because it was such a sensitive topic. Again, not no I thought I was writing this to 700 subscribers and that was that. It would
Yeah.
get like 20 likes and maybe a few comments, but like that's kinda it was more like processing what I felt. Um, but yes, I don't know, I mean, yeah, what was the question?
I think we've answered it. I don't even remember what the question was. I think it was more of a conversation piece of, oh, that ChatGPT. Did I just say that right? GPT clearly didn't write it.
Yeah.
This was the most
Oh, I've been
human.
accused of that. I've had quite a few comments, like, of
Oh my
people
god!
being
This
like,
essay, come on, you guys.
yeah,
This is
I like,
so
that's what I
human.
find wild is I'm like, the people are like, "She like, it should be Lindsey Hall prompts," or that someone said that. I was like,
Oh my
"What?" And, like, people are, like, saying that, like, I literally prompted this and it made up this story. I was like, "I don't think ChatGPT would come up with this story, y'all."
And if
Like,
it
I
did, it
don't
would just be so polished and like,
yeah, I think this was a messy story with messy messy people doing messy things and I there's just ridiculous. I find that preposterous, but yeah, I think it speaks to where we're living in right now that anything
yeah,
written, anything creative is coming under this, like, "Is it AI?"
yeah,
Like, "Is it real?" And that's so sad that we're living in this kinda culture where we're so jaded, and I get it. I mean, I get it, but we're,
yeah,
like, so jaded by art or so jaded by, "Is anything real?"
yeah. No, I mean, it totally makes sense because so much of it is not authentic. And this is,
Yeah.
you're just putting it out there. Story was authentic. It was kind of elements were universal and resonated. But the story itself and how you wove it together was uniquely you, which to me, that's the mark of a beautifully written personal essay.
Thank
So
you.
congratulations. Clearly the world agrees with that statement because it's gone so viral. And um, I wish you all the success with this and your ongoing writing career. And I saw you had posted and you were like, should I repost the story from a couple of years ago now that I'm getting more eyes? And I'm like, absolutely, do
Yeah,
it.
thank you.
Keep
Yeah.
writing. And if you have one that's really good from your past, like write it out loud. We need
Yeah.
stories more than ever. I just put the link to, Karen and I have both put the link to Slate, and I am putting the link once again to your Substack. You all should subscribe.
Thank you.
Lindsay is having
Me
a
too.
moment, and I suspect this is not the end of that moment.
We'll see. I mean, it really speaks to like, it's been cool. It's been a cool experience in the sense of seeing something that you like a cultural moment, I'm like, "Oh," like, it's like to go viral in 2020, say, or to have a viral piece, whatever, you really have
Yes.
to inflame some group.
Yes,
Somebody has to
absolutely.
be inflamed in the whole ordeal, otherwise and that's what I've found interesting. So, it's a lot to deal with, a lot of hate, a lot of
Yeah.
hate, which I was not expecting, and, mentally, I've kinda I've had a lot of people checking in, like, "Are you okay?" Like, "You probably
Yeah.
need" and I need a little bit of a break after all this kinda caused like, I need a
Right.
break to refresh my
Yes.
head because 'cause I've gotten so much feedback.
Right? Well, hopefully all of these hearts flying in are giving you a little bit of a break because everyone is, gushing about your essay here in the chat.
Oh,
Um,
thank you guys. Thank you. Thank you.
and I wanna be respectful of your time since we've now been between the 3 different lives to get here. It's been almost 2 hours. There is one question, though, that the Daily Whatever Show, we always ask our guests on their first visit. So
Yeah.
I'm going to ask this of you and folks in the chat. If you have an answer, you may weigh in as well. Um, I know you are not Gen X, but Lawrence and I both are. Lawrence and I have been best friends since the fourth grade. We
Oh,
go
I
way
love
back.
that. That's so cute.
I know, but we ask all of our guests, what is the most Gen X song of all time?
Gen X song of all time.
Yes,
And that's the age group of, like,
it's 65 to 80 are the birth years. So the music is
okay.
80s and 90s.
My first thought oh, man, I could come up with so many. My first thought's, like, the Rumors album, Fleetwood Mac, and that wasn't that,
Oh,
like,
that
any of, like, Gypsy or, all of that
yeah.
whole album. Is it wasn't that that era?
It's
Was
a
it
little earlier.
was it
So
earlier?
Rumors I know through my parents. I wanna say that probably came out in, like, the early to mid
What
'70s.
about This Must Be the Place, Talking Heads?
Oh, okay, so Rumors was 1977. So
Okay.
Gen X, we were in the backseat of the car. The older Gen Xers, yes. I
Yeah.
was in the backseat of the car for that one. But This Must Be the Place by Talking Heads.
Yeah, that's my
That's
funeral song.
it's
That's
your
what I
what
want
song?
that's what I want my funeral song to be. I've
It's a
always
really
sang
good
that
one. Mine
song
is
for
Just
20
Sexy
years.
at My Funeral by Smog, a song you'd
I
almost
love that song! I
you know
love
that
it.
song?
Yes, I love that song. Oh my god, it's so crazy to say I never hear people talk about Smog. I love that
Same.
song. I
Oh
love
my
the song
god.
Dress Sexy at My Funeral, and then the country. Let's Move to the Country. Da 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 da. That Smog. It's so good. Yeah, I love
I
those are
don't
the only
remember
2
that
songs I
one.
know from yeah, those are the only 2 songs I know from them.
Right?
But Dress Sexy at My Funeral, I love. Yeah.
Maybe we should start asking this as a new question. What's your funeral song? I
Yeah.
also love um the Jeff Buckley mix of Hallelujah, which I know is
Hallelujah.
trite now, but it's Hallelujah mixed with I Know It's Over by the Smiths. He goes
Oh, I
from
haven't
one
listened I don't know if I've listened to that version.
oh, well, I Know It's Over is like so those are the 2 songs I wish
The
Jeff played
Smiths.
at my funeral.
Oh, yeah.
I know, but hold on. Well, I won't find it now, but I
I'll
love
find
the
it.
idea of asking, "What do you want at your funeral?" But This Must Be the Place. That has a bite of Gen X irony in there. You want This
Yeah.
Must Be the Place at your funeral.
I think
Um,
been my favorite. It's probably been my
uh,
favorite song. If I had a, gun to my head, I had to choose a favorite song, it'd be that or Fleetwood Mac. So, yeah.
I love that song.
Yeah.
Home is where I wanna
I want to
be, but I guess I'm alright.
right there.
See,
I
and
love
I've
it.
never thought about that one
Never.
as an ending. I thought that song to me is really powerful for a relationship. Like, I could imagine playing that if I ever got married again, like,
Yeah.
at a on a wedding mix CD maybe of, like, because that
Well,
song is just about, like, so profoundly finding a
yeah.
person who
It's
feels like
also
home.
like, verse that's like, I'm just an animal looking for a home, share the same space for a minute or 2,
Yeah.
and you've loved me till my heart love
And
me
you
till I'm
love
gone.
me
Me
till my
till
heart
I'm gone,
it's the
like,
bridge, right? That is
yeah, love me till I'm dead. Um,
oh, I have
I think about
goosebumps.
this for you, yeah. I don't know, just the whole, like, I'm just an animal looking for a home.
For
I think
home.
that's, like I don't know, I've always loved that line. I've always loved that line, I wanna go out to that line, I just love it.
That's it, and the animal looking for a home never says, "I'm not proud of you."
Yeah,
The animal just says, "You're my home."
exactly. They don't say, "I'm just not proud of her." Dot, dot, dot.
Dot, dot,
The
dot, frail,
emphasis. The
frail,
emphasis
frail.
of it.
Oh my gosh. This has been
Anyway.
so much fun.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate you
Thank you
great.
for jumping on, and I'm sad Frederick Pogue isn't here because while I had already found your essay, he also was like, "You should go on Danish."
Yeah, 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 that was totally him. He's awesome. I've
He
been
is
really
awesome.
interested reading his stuff and watching him.
Oh my gosh, you should go live with him and talk about it because he's real fun to go live with, but yeah,
Yeah,
he
it would
has a
probably bring
very
an interesting perspective too, like a
he
different
yes, talking to him about we have done dating shows with Frederick. It is
nice.
always interesting. It is always interesting. All right, we gotta go start our Thursdays, or I need to go jump into my Thursday. It's, time to go get to my day job. I could talk to you
Awesome.
all day. Um,
Awesome. Yeah, you too.
Thank you.
Thank
Please
you.
come back. We'll have to have you back on, for your next essay and maybe on an
Like,
episode when Lawrence is here too, so you
yeah,
can
I'd
read
love
him because
that.
I know he would love you.
I'd love
Um,
that.
Thanks to everyone in our chat now that we got a proper sized chat going. Love you, mean it. Bye.
Thank you. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.